Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 15, another 7 curious, interesting things I saw last week. And as ever, consultancy, innovation and workshops. If you need any of those, find me on LinkedIn. That's what I do. First of all, we have Flappy Birds coded in dumb things. Now, this is Evan Gresham, aka Code Bullet on YouTube. Does amazing videos, always hilarious if you're into this sort of coding thing. He's making programs that shouldn't really be game engines, be game engines. So the file explorer, so just files and folders. This is MS Paint. He's actually creating Flappy Birds in MS Paint. ChatGPT didn't go particularly well, but also Adobe Premiere Pro. So the very thing he's creating his videos in, he's trying to make it to be Flappy Birds as well. So I'm not showing you the final versions of any of these. I don't want to spoil the video because it is brilliant, the little journey he takes you on. Super high energy. You don't need to be a coder to figure it out, by the way. As I say here, it's a triumph of creativity over assumptions. So just when you think it can't be done, it can be if you just think mischievously with a twinkle in your eye. I love that. This is the enhanced games, and there's two things going on here. One is they need a face, and the other one is the enhanced games. So a bunch of millionaires have got together and thought, what would happen if you could take drugs and enhance your body and do the Olympics of that? Obviously, it won't be called the Olympics, but it's called the Games. So that's number one. All drugs are all good as long as they're done safely, and obviously they go above and beyond to then say like there will be lots of health checks and that sort of thing. But it's also for lots of money. There's going to be £1 million prize purse and all that sort of stuff as well. So they're going to pay the athletes fairly. Now, if you sign up to this, then they will help you do the doping as well, or the drug taking as well, which I think is amazing, weird. But also there is going to be a documentary. So Ridley Scott and essentially the same people behind lots of other documentary are going to make a documentary, and they are now looking for the face. I love the disclaimer. If you are competing in the Paris Olympics, don't worry. We can keep the whole process private until after the closing ceremony. So if you are an aspiring Olympic athlete and you for somehow want to basically destroy your career, however, possibly make it in the next big thing, then this is for you. Apply now, closes quite soon, 3rd of May. So you've got a couple of weeks to get your application in. This is VANA, not actually heard it in the real world, which I guess is the whole point of a lot of this digital stuff. But this is a platform where you can give it your data to be you. So it's a digital mini you, essentially. You train it to be you, and it can generate the voice, and it can generate the images, and essentially it's a little mini you that you can then use to share with your friends, or potentially it can go and do things for you. However, the big news is, if you didn't know about that, by the way, that's interesting. First and secondly, it's actually now connected to Reddit. So they've created this essentially autonomous organization. It's a Web3 thing. It's essentially what you do is you connect your Reddit stuff. It reads all your Reddit stuff, and it then says, well, okay, we can all now use our data to power other things as well. So this is now not only going to train my mini me, because all the things you probably say on Reddit are probably very you, but also the power of this data can then be sold to other people as well. So you then vote in this autonomous organization what happens to it, but your data is now worth money. Reddit, by the way, are not happy about this at all, because obviously their business model is kind of about selling all of the data that gets in the discussions on Reddit. And now if people are then extracting that data and then actually having an opinion on their own what they're doing with that data and who they're going to potentially sell it to, then that's an interesting thing, or not sell it. But your data is precious, and therefore you might now have a vector for valuing your data and training AIs and getting paid for it, maybe. YouTube have new rules about generative AI and whether you've used it in the video that you're about to upload. So there is now a new tip box, or there will be very soon. It's going to be a kind of a subtle and slow rollout, but there is going to be a new tick box, and you have to basically say, have you used AI generated content in your video or not? If you have, all it'll do is it'll put a little sort of disclaimer and a warning in the description. It won't do anything to the actual content. Apparently it won't also monkey about with whether you're going to be shown in the algorithm or not. If you essentially are just using it for effects and a few bits and bobs here and there, and you use a robotic voice maybe, or you use it for translations, that's all good. You do not need to basically disclose that. However, if you are doing, and I think they've done brilliantly to get it down to 3 bullet points, if you're making a real person appear to say or do something they didn't, if you alter footage of a real event or place, or if you generate a realistic looking scene that didn't actually occur, you need to hit the yes button. And again, it won't do anything. It'll just basically put a disclaimer in the description. Now, if you do something bad and you are a bad actor and you're trying to do fake stuff, then you will be shadow banned or just banned, and that will be very difficult for you to get your account back. So this is good. Lots of people are sort of slightly whinging about it, saying, well, we can't do memes and generate stuff, and go, yeah, also we can't mislead some. So YouTube are trying to do the right by everybody, and potentially you might see some of the weirder, crankier stuff on the internet disappear because it'll fall foul of this. But there you go. Interesting. Visual binary analysis. Just came upon this on a hackers forum, and it's brilliant. I've known for years, I've done a couple of things with AI where pigeons can find breast cancer cells, for instance, and they're just, however a pigeon's eyes and brain is wired, it's just really good at finding clumps of cells. It's probably the same way it navigates when it's flying. Humans can also do the same thing. Now, if you represent a file as lumps of data with low, high, ASCII or empty data, whatever it needs to be, and you just displayed it, you can then explore and look at the file just using your brain and its visual senses. So I've converted the Dinosaw on the left-hand side, the PowerPoint, the PDF version, the MP3, obviously the video, and then I converted the text into a text doc, a Word doc. And as you can see kind of in there are black spots where there is no data. There is a lot of blue spots where there is actual text. So for instance, if you look at the PDF and you hover over the blue areas, you can see text start to appear. Now that might be the text you're looking for. It might be a password. It might be some sensitive data that people didn't think that you'd be able to find. But as you can see from the Word document, big lumps of nothing, but also big lumps of words in there as well. So interesting way of looking at it. Now, BinViz.io have to do a massive call out to Aldo Cortese for creating it. It's a website, just go to it. You can upload your file. Obviously, don't put anything sensitive in there, but you can upload your file and it will do exactly what you're seeing on the right-hand side. That's me going through the Word document, showing you that you can actually, if you hover over the blue bits, you can actually see words start to appear in the binary of the file. So go and have a play, it's really interesting, but also if you are a cybersecurity person, this is also a way of trying to find sensitive information in what would otherwise be a sort of an impenetrable binary file. Well, there you go, interesting, like that. Google DeepMind, the smart people over at Google, well, they're all smart, obviously, but the DeepMind people have been working with Liverpool FC on tactics, and they've actually just generated their Tactic.AI. They've had a few versions of this before. They've specifically trained this on corner kicks because that's when the play kind of stops and you can then have a little bit more of an idea of what's going on, rather than just people running about all over the place. I.e., you can freeze the game and have a bit more of a go at what the tactics should be. So what you're seeing in front of you here is just one of the images from the paper that was published. And as you can see, so A is the reality, and this is an attacking team trying to do a corner. Now, what you can then do, you can then say, well, if you did this, there would be less likely of the attacking team receiving the ball in front of the goal and therefore being able to score. So as you can see from the graph, for instance, post adjustment, which is would they actually get the ball or not, actually goes down. So every time the post adjustment has happened, the tactic has been played, they will have less likely of getting the ball. Now, 9 coaches, real coaches, flesh coaches, 9 out of 10 of them said that they would actually choose this tactic that was generated over the actual tactic that was employed in the actual game. So how you get these tactics to the players on the pitch, we don't know. But post-analysis, you can actually see how this will make teams better. Whether teams have to then declare whether they've been using AI to train their players, we don't really know. And likewise, whether players will even understand what's going on, who knows? But there you go. That's Google DeepMind, and we'll see more of this coming into sports quite soon. And finally, we have Bark Air, and yes, this is absolutely real. Now, Bark make food for dogs and all that sort of stuff. They are a known entity. This is not just a made-up thing. But Bark Air is a chartered airplane, a chartered airline between LA and New York and London, specially for dogs. So there's a very short onboarding as well, so you can just arrive. You don't have to go in a cage, and you can roam about. There are snacks and treats and all that sort of stuff. Not really sure what happens when you need to go for a wee. That's going to be interesting, but it's a chartered airplane, so somebody's obviously done some analysis on and wetting and things like that. But there you go, $8,000 a trip if you want to go and do this, but that is for your dog and your human, so you can argue that's $4,000. So that's about maybe a business class trip, maybe a little bit more. There you go, Barcare. It actually does exist. If you have a dog and you are rich and you want to go to New York, then that's for you. Hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully it was useful. If it was, subscribe, send it to somebody amazing, surprise them with some knowledge, and I will see you next week.